Okay. Well, that was an interesting game to watch. Our offense was back to being our offense again. Try 11 possessions, 9 times we scored. 8 touchdowns, 1 field goal, and then 1 punt, and then we just ran the clock out at the end of the game. Congratulations, Buckeye fans. Our offense is back. This is my Ohio State fan reaction for Game 10 against Purdue. The Buckeyes moved to 9-1 as they beat Purdue 59-31. We scored 45 points in the first half. Normally we average like 45 points a game, not 45 points a half. So we got our average in a half, tacked on some more at after the half. But there are still things to take away from this game, right? And I think the big one is our defense. But I'm going to get to our defense. I want to talk about the offense first. What a day for C.J. Stroud. Only 7 incompletions, went 31 of 38 for 361 yards and 5 touchdowns on the day for C.J. Stroud. So a very good day for C.J. A very good day for the running backs here as well. A team 263 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of which belong to Travion Henderson. Mayan Williams had a good day as well, 117 yards for him. And Garrett Wilson with the 3rd rushing touchdown on a jet sweep play, goes 51 yards. Travion Henderson also had a 57 yard touchdown run in there as well. So Ohio State's offense was back, making big plays, being very, very explosive. And back to Garrett Wilson. I mean, what a day. What a day for Garrett Wilson. He had 10 catches for 126 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving today. Crazy, absolutely nuts. Jackson Smith-Njigba continues to be the leader in receiving yards on this team. 9 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown. And Chris Olave even was there as well. 9 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. So all 3 main guys for Ohio State showed up, played in some big downs. And there are only 3 other players who caught a catch, and there was 1 each. It was Julian Fleming, Travion Henderson, and Mayan Williams. But again, Smith-Njigba, Wilson, and Olave, kind of all you need, right? Would have been nice to throw Jeremy Ruckert in there, but he was used as kind of more of a blocking tight end in this game, which I didn't have a problem with at all. Suited us out really well, so not much to complain about there. Noah Ruggles continues to remain perfect on extra points and field goals. Went 8 for 8 on the extra points and 1 for 1 on his field goals today. Looking at the team offensive stats, 624 yards. I mean, that's just insane. 4 of 7 on 3rd down with 30 first downs. Didn't turn the ball over. Controlled time of possession. Ohio State's offense played a very, very good game today. All the concerns that people had coming in about their red zone. What are they going to do in the red zone? They're settling for field goals. They can't do that. This Purdue team is sneaky. This game was never in doubt from the start. Purdue made it interesting at first, tied it up 7-7. It was supposed to be an interesting game, but Ohio State quickly took control over from there. And this is a great win for Ohio State, especially on the offensive side. On a day where people were doubting this offense, in a week where people were saying, how's Ohio State's offense going to look against Purdue? This is a different test. What's Ohio State going to see, especially in the red zone? The Buckeyes were able to get it done, and I am very proud of them. For that red zone offense, I knew this team was going to be fine. Yes, I mentioned it because there was slight concern in it, right? But all in all, hey, this was an extraordinary performance on the offensive end. Couldn't be happier. Defensively, though, there are still concerns. And when you go back and look, this defense is playing good. Well, playing better than they did week 2 against Oregon, right? And I think that much is obvious. Ever since we switched to Matt Barnes calling plays, it's just worked out a lot nicer for us. But we allowed 481 yards today. Now, this Purdue offense is explosive, and they have arguably the best wide receiver in all of college football in David Bell. I say arguably because 3 others have an argument that played on the other side of the ball in scarlet and gray today. But David Bell, one of the best receivers in the nation, and that is not arguable. He is fantastic. Just barely eclipsed the 100-yard mark today. He had 11 catches for 103 yards but no touchdowns. Aiden O'Connell was doing Aiden O'Connell things. 40 for 52, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So, again, defensively, couldn't force an interception. And the 2 turnovers that did occur for Purdue were kind of their own fault. The first fumble being just kind of a misplay. Aiden O'Connell was going to go hand it off to, I believe it was Doru or Anthrop. I don't believe it was Horvath that was in the backfield there. I'm pretty sure it was Doru. Aiden O'Connell was handing the ball off to him, and the running back kind of looked like he thought that it was a fake run, like a play action play. So he kind of pulled back. Aiden O'Connell still was like, no, you need to take. Oh no, now okay. And who else to recover it but Jerron Cage? So fantastic work there. It was. I'm trying to remember who was it that fumbled, but pretty sure it was Doru or Anthrop. And then the second one was just a misplay on a kickoff, which is inexcusable for Purdue. That shouldn't have happened. As soon as he went to pick up that ball, everyone in the stadium, including everyone at home, probably knew that he was going to get drilled, ends up losing the football, and Ohio State recovers at the 12, scores a touchdown in, I believe, just 2 plays there for that drive. So, again, turnovers in this game were kind of Purdue shooting themselves in the foot. But overall, Purdue didn't do too much of that penalty-wise in this game. Only 4 penalties for 31 yards. That's pretty good. Pretty good for Purdue, but again, those 2 turnovers were costly. And again, there were just a couple of drives for Purdue that they couldn't really get anything going. And this Ohio State defense just played okay. Like, Purdue's a dynamic offense, and I knew this was going to be a little bit of a different challenge, but man, I kind of expected a little bit more out of Ohio State's defense in this one, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, only forced Aiden O'Connell in the 12 incompletions, and you could argue that a lot of those were just Aiden O'Connell overthrowing guys, making bad throws, things like that. But there were some really nice plays on defense in this game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying our defense played horrible and we need to uplift everything again. But if you're going to be concerned about anything for this Ohio State team, it has to be on the defensive side of the ball because of performances like this. Or I guess I should say because of offenses like Purdue's. Because of offenses like Purdue's. Because of these explosive offenses that, again, Big Ten and the playmakers that you see in the Big Ten. Look at Michigan State with Kenneth Walker. Although our run defense was really good today, only allowed 91 rushing yards is what we allowed today. But yeah, so again, when we go up against playmakers like Kenneth Walker, Jaden Naylor, and Jalen Reed are over there, or Jalen Naylor and Jaden Reed. I always get their 2 first names mixed around. They're so similar. Jalen Naylor and Jaden Reed. Those 2 guys, and Kenneth Walker, as I just mentioned. Again, sounding like a broken record. I apologize. I just had to make sure I got the names right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been happy with myself. But those 3 guys I just mentioned for Michigan State are going to cause us some problems next week. It's probably going to happen for Michigan. Or when we go to play Michigan here in a couple of weeks, Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, if he's back and healthy and ready. And even some of the wide receivers they have there, Cornelius Johnson, Andrew Anthony has emerged as a guy that, and there was another guy who emerged as kind of a big threat this week as well. And ended up what was a game-winning touchdown pass over Penn State, a game that was actually pretty exciting to watch. So, yeah, this Ohio State defense is young. I think we all know that. There are still some things that can be improved on this defense. Absolutely, for sure. Because we got arguably the 2 biggest games of the season coming up next. The 2 biggest games of the season head over heels for this Ohio State team. And in terms of the overall picture around the nation, also going to be 2 very, very important games. Look at the title up there, gaining momentum for the mitten. What's the mitten? Well, if you know your U.S. geography, it's what the state of Michigan looks like, right? Often referred to as the glove state. Does it looks like a glove. Looks like a winter mitten. We're gaining momentum for the two teams that we still have yet to play from the Big Ten East, Michigan State and Michigan. And I'm going to be honest, I think the games are going to be a lot of fun, but they're both going to present their unique challenges. I think Ohio State is absolutely capable of beating both of them. But I think in order to beat both of them, this offense, has to play like we did today. Just score. Just do what the offense does. I'm not even worried about this offense. This offense is going to be fine. The defense, again, if you're an Ohio State fan looking for something to complain about for whatever reason, you can look at the defense. And while there's not a whole lot to complain about in this game, because, again, Purdue has a good offense and one of the best quarterback wide receiver connections in the entire nation with O'Connell and Bell. But this defense is still a work in progress. It can still show signs of improvement in certain areas of the defense, right? Zone coverage kills me. We played a little bit, or I think we mostly played zone in this game, and it showed, but there were times where we matched up man-to-man, and again, it prevailed. It worked. When we match up our corners on man-to-man, yes, our corners are young, but a lot of them have through-the-roof potential NFL talent, and when they match up with guys like, with guys like Bell, with guys like Wright, with guys like Sheffield, right, that Purdue was able to throw at us in this game, they were winning those battles for the most part. And I thought David Bell, when he was one-on-one in coverage, was covered really, really well. So can't complain about much about this effort from Ohio State today, but the defense still has some steps to go, right? But what Ohio State showed today is this is a college football playoff worthy team. And I think this is the first time they showed that here in a couple of weeks. And it's the first time they showed it against a good opponent. Or I shouldn't say the first time. I should say the second time because Penn State was a good opponent as well. But this is the first time Ohio State's shown it against an opponent now in November, right? The back half of the schedule. And these last three games, the committee made it really interesting because instead of only playing two ranked teams, we now have three. And although Purdue might not be ranked at the end of the year, they were ranked when we beat them, which again is what people are going to look at. Purdue had 2 top 5 wins on the year. This is not a bad Purdue team at all. So now I'm curious, right? Let's start this conversation up. Well, I just mentioned the playoff committee. Ohio State fans of other teams that are watching this, although probably mostly Ohio State fans, but just in case you're a fan of any other team in the nation, comment down below. Do you think that this performance from Ohio State, depending on how Oregon plays tonight, they don't play until 10:30 Eastern Standard Time on ESPN against Washington State, but do you think that this performance shows that Ohio State is a better team than Oregon? I've thought since the Akron game that Ohio State has been a better team than Oregon because Oregon since has lost to Stanford, has struggled with Cal, kind of struggled with Washington, a team that isn't terribly great this year, but again, has a lot of talent. I think overall Ohio State has been the more complete team than Oregon. The committee, again, is putting them ahead, or putting Oregon ahead of Ohio State right now because of the head-to-head. But as we saw last week, that doesn't always matter because Michigan State, who beat Michigan 9 days before the second playoff ranking come out, fell below them. Now let's start this debate up, right? Could it happen? Sure, because the committee is inconsistent as all hell. We know that. Welcome to college football. But yeah, it's going to be something interesting to watch. In fact, the rankings on Tuesday are going to be interesting to watch. The top 7 should remain. Maybe some mixing around, some jumbling around if results hold tonight. Again, Oregon's the last to play tonight, and I think that's the only top 7 team that has to play tonight. But there's some other top 10, top 25 games in action. Texas A&M, Ole Miss is going on right now. I have that one on the television. I also have NC State and Wake Forest on the television as well. So some pretty interesting games still to come on your college football Saturday. Again, Ohio State gets this win here. Our offense, no complaints. I think our offense is going to be just fine. Our red zone problems got figured out. It was just a couple of off games. Not worried about it. The defense, again, is still a work in progress. not a whole lot to complain about after watching this game. There were definitely some lapses, some miscommunications. A lot of the touchdowns Purdue scored, guys were left wide open without contest. Again, that's what zone does. Thank you. Welcome to hell. That's what zone is to me. Zone is hell. I don't like zone, if you could tell. I feel much better when we play in man-to-man, but again, it's football. There are some scenarios where you're going to play zone. And yeah, so with all of that being said, I still think this is a really good win today against a good Purdue team. But the teams in the mitten are still waiting for us. The team in that state up north are still waiting for us. And boy, these are going to be some fun 2 last games, right? Your game against Michigan State next week, or I should say our game against Michigan State next week, right? For the Ohio State Buckeyes is going to be at noon Eastern on ABC. So I believe this is the this is the 4th time that Ohio State's going to have a game on ABC this year. And I thought that was interesting because normally it's only 2 or 3. Last week's game against Nebraska was on Fox, and this game was on ABC. The Indiana game was on ABC. Penn State game was on ABC. Now Michigan State game on ABC. And then, of course, the Michigan game is going to be at noon Eastern on Fox as per usual. 2 very fun games to finish out the season. Ohio State is 9-1. We're going to be looking for win number 10 next week in the shoot against Michigan State. That should be a fun one to watch. I'm definitely going to be previewing that on Thursday. I would also expect that's where College Game Day is heading. That's probably the biggest matchup of the week. One of the biggest, if not the biggest matchups of the season coming up next week. So, hey, let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comment section below. I know I didn't really go super in-depth, but hey, I thought our offense played well. Defense, still a work in progress, still some things to work on, but overall, not a bad performance in this game here today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new, if you want to support the channel, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, share the video, do anything you can, help support it. Would mean a lot to me. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys tomorrow or Monday. I'm not quite sure when my review will be up this week, but tomorrow or Monday with my Week 11 review. Goodbye.